Yes, so my research is inspired by the observation that virtually all the existing global policy changes, such as environmental sustainability, financial sustainability, the regulation of artificial intelligence, and digital technologies, are governed by diverse sets of global governance institutions which find their competencies overlapping under no coordination from an overarching authority. So in contrast to nation states, the global governance system lacks an integrative framework within which overlapping arrangements, institutional arrangements, can be coordinated. And this phenomenon is described as regime complexity or as institutional complexity by global governance researchers, and that's what I have been researching basically throughout my academic career. And the key question that motivates my work is, to what extent is effective and legitimate global governance possible in this particular institutional context? So in a nutshell, I analyze how institutional complexity affects the ability of global governance institutions to address contemporary policy challenges and, within this context, the normative qualities of global governance institutions. And I guess the central claim that I've been putting forward in various ways is that institutional complexity, you might also say institutional diversity, is a strength and not a weakness, as others have argued. We've discussed a paper that I'm co-authoring with John Karlsrud from the Norwegian Institute of International Affairs. And our paper is interested in the institutional dynamics of global governance in hard times. So, more precisely, we are interested in how two major institutional dynamics that are currently unfolding in global governance affect the ability of global governance to deliver global public goods. So why are global governance institutions facing a hard time? We think there are four reasons for this. The first is a change in the global distribution of power from Western states to non-Western states. The second is the rise of nationalist populism, which often includes authoritarian elements. The third is the relatively frequent occurrence of transnational crises, such as the global financial crisis, COVID-19. And the fourth is the emergence of complex cooperation problems that penetrate deeply into domestic societies. Then we identify those two major institutional dynamics that we think are out there. And the first is a drift of formal intergovernmental organizations such as the UN, which are basically gridlocked in a period of tremendous societal, technological, economic change. So they were set up for a world that doesn't exist anymore, and they struggle to adapt to the new world. And the second and related dynamic is that we have a proliferation of what in a previous paper Knabet and I call low-cost institutions. These are informal international institutions such as the G7, the G20 or the BRICS, and they actually might take up the slack. At least that's one important institutional development, that those types of institutions are proliferating. And then we ask basically, okay, what does that mean for global governance? Taken together, are those two developments a sign of innovation, of the innovative adaptation of global governance to a changing world, or to a significantly changed world? Or do those two institutional developments actually indicate the decline of global governance and the return of great power politics in the traditional way, which doesn't respect any institutional constraints? So that's our paper. A major challenge in global governance today. I mean, there are so many challenges, and I could name several of them. I look at global governance from the perspective of a generalist. So in contrast to other people who focus on particular issue areas of global governance, I look at global governance from a general perspective. And this perspective leads me to say that a major challenge is that important global governance institutions were created for a world that doesn't exist anymore. So the major challenge is basically to adapt those global governance institutions to current realities, such as changed distribution of global power in favor of non-Western states. And an aspect that is related to this is that because global governance institutions are not really successful in adapting to those current realities, they cannot really take up important new tasks. So let's say there are lots of new technologies out there, and there is basically a demand to regulate those new technologies, but international institutions are not really able to deliver on that and to do that. And I think not the only reason, but one reason is that basically the institutional structures of global governance are outdated. So that makes it difficult for those institutions to get the buy-in of important stakeholders. Yes, I would absolutely recommend it. I mean, as I said, so students have participated, and I have received valuable questions from students. Also from a self-interested perspective, as an academic, I think it's always good to hear what students think, because they might think more like outside of the box, and that can be very helpful. So I would say for students, when I was a student, I was keen to participate in such events because I think it's an open discussion, and it's work in progress. So it's not that something which is already polished and finished is presented, and your task is to absorb it, but you can participate in a thought process. And in one way or the other, you can contribute to that thought process. And I think if you think of ourselves as an academic community, to which not only lecturers are part of, but also students, then I think we should embrace everybody's contribution, and I think everybody can profit from participating in such an event. So for me, when I was a student, I guess participating in such research seminars was a formative experience.